Hello YouTube, we're on the Real Programming channel. I'm his host, my name is Andrei. I greet you, welcome. This is a 35 lesson. We are talking about HTML, PHP and MySQL. And topic, primary case enforce uniqueness in PHP MySQL. Okay, a primary key is a column in a table that distinguishes each row in that table as unique. Unlike normal columns, which could also be designed to be unique, only one command can be made the primary key. This provides a clear choice for what column to use in any queries that need to pinpoint specific rows. In order to ensure this uniqueness for a primary case, MySQL imposes a bunch of restrictions on the column that has been declared as primary key. You can think of these restrictions as rules to be followed as you work with primary keys. A primary key is a column in your table that makes each row unique. The 5 rules of a primary case. The data in a primary key can be repeated. 2 rows should never have the same data in their primary case. No exceptions, a primary key should always have unique values within a given table. Primary key must have a value. If a primary key was left empty and null, then it might not be unique because other rows could potentially also be null. Always set your primary keys to unique values. The primary key must be set when a new row is inserted. If you could insert a row without the primary key, you would run the risk of ending up with a null primary key and duplicate rows in your table, which would defeat the purpose. A primary key must be as efficient as possible. A primary key should contain only the information it needs to be unique and nothing more. That's why integers make good primary keys. They allow for uniqueness without requiring much storage. The value of primary key can't be changed. If you could change the value for your key, you'd risk accidentally setting it to a value you already used. Remember, it has to remain unique at all costs. The ID column in Elmer's table doesn't have repeat data. As a value for every row is automatically set when a new row is inserted. It is compact and doesn't change perfect. Test drive. After alter Elmer's table and try out a certain row of data with a primary key. Using a MySQL tool such as MySQL Terminal or the SQL tab of PHP might be enter the alter table statement to add a primary key column named ID. Let's look on Sublime Text. And don't forget exactly. You will find all the content materials of this lesson under this video in description link. The links and please download it and check this. So this is it. Now insert new customers to the database to see if the ID column is automatically set for the new row. Here is an example of an insert statement to use notice the primary key isn't maintained. This is it. And then finally issue a select statement to view the contents of the table and see the new primary key in all its glory. Just in the case you forgot, and here is the select statement. The new ID column is auto increment so that it remains unique for the new row of data. So, cubicle conversation. Okay, so now every row in the table has a unique primary key. How does that help? Elmer still deletes based on email addresses. This is Joe, Frank and Jill. Joe, the problem is that the user needs to pinpoint rows of data using the primary key instead of the mail addresses Frank. That's right, so we just need to change form the form is that the user enters the ID of customer instead of their mail addresses. No problemo. Jill, actually big problem. The user has no way of knowing the ID of a customer without somehow finding them in the database. In fact, the user doesn't know anything about the database structure. Maybe what we need to is to rethink the form so that it lists out all names and the mail addresses in a list with checkboxes next to each one. Here I'll sketch it for you. The value of the checkbox will keep track of the ID value. Frank, nice sketch, but how does that help Elmer isolate a customer for deletion using their ID? Joe, what if we store the customer ID in the value of the checkbox? That way it isn't actually visible, but the script can get to it. Jill, that's a great idea. So we could generate the form automatically in a loop by doing a select to get all the data and then creating each checkbox input field from a row of query data. Joe, cool. But what happens when the submit button is pressed? What does $_post have in it? Frank, hang on, Joe, we'll get there in a minute. Let's just start by building this part of the script. The part that displays all the data from the table and writes out those checkboxes. And exercise PHP and mysql magnets. Use the magnets below to finish the missing code for the remove ML script, which presents a series of checkboxes for the customers in Elmer's database. Note that this code just creates the form. Don't worry about the code that's problems that delete it just yet. Okay. Inline PHP code still has to be placed inside with less than question mark PHP and question mark more than text. This and this. So this is a form solution. Yes. The form is referencing. This is where the primary key gets used in the checkboxes. We can use this later to delete any checked customers. Each checkbox's input field is constructed from a row of customer data. Then this here, you can name your submit button anything you want. Just be sure to remember the name later if you decide to check $_post to see if the form was submitted. And the script doesn't actually do any deleting yet. For now, it just presents a list of checkboxes. And then, from checkboxes to customers' IDs, and looped out an array with for each. We will talk about this in the next lesson. And here is our 35th lesson about HTML, PHP, MySQL. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, please. Put likes and share with friends. Comment, meditate, do exercise every evening. And drink more water for the brain. And so on. Thank you. Bye.